Hey, I'm Dr. Craig Chappell at Intuit Medical, and we're going to show you today all our post-carpal tunnel release stretches. These are also very useful pre-carpal tunnel release if you're battling carpal tunnel syndrome. And there will be a link to our exercises also on this video. So the first stretch is pretty simple. We're going to basically put our hand out in front of us, reach up with the opposite hand, and you're going to pull backwards on the entire hand. You're going to hold this for several seconds, and you're going to let it go and then come back again. Each time trying to get back a little bit further after you finish this stretch, and as prescribed, we're gonna move on to the next one in the same position. Start with your thumb, you're gonna come straight back. Next thing, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger. Stretch number 2, instead of working on extension like we were a second ago, we're going to work on active extension. We're starting this position and just basically flex each finger into the thumb, hold it, and work your way through that pattern. This is the third stretch, starting in this position. We're going to move into this position, back open, fist, open, out in this position, open, and then down. And we start over, right? All right, I'm not usually one that teaches these stretches, but for some reason, I'm trying to do it today. We'll see if this works. If it doesn't, I'll get better at the stretches. This is stretch number 4. We're gonna start with our hand in a fist, open, back, an extension, fingers apart, and then stretch the thumb. This would be stretch number 5. In this case, requires putty. So we start the putty exercises 11 days after carpal tunnel release, where we start the other ones the day after the carpal tunnel release. In our office, we have lots of different thicknesses of putty, but I like the color of the orange one, so I grabbed that one today. And the first thing we're gonna do is what's called the finger hook stretch. So we're basically gonna hold the putty in our hands, kind of out into our fingers, on our fingers, and curl the fingers around the putty and stretch. So it's not a full fist at this point, but we're basically just working on getting the motion out into extension and firing a couple different muscles. In this case, the superficialis and profundus muscles that go to the fingers, which run through the carpal tunnel. So once again, it's kind of all fingers. The next part of this is we're going to include, basically make a full fist and wrap your thumb around it while squeezing the putty. Depending on how warm your putty is, this can be hard or it can be pretty easy. It's pretty warm today, so it makes it look pretty strong, but basically across and make a full fist with the putty. The next step along with the putty would go like this. So we basically take the putty, put it into a little arc, wrap it around the finger, and we're gonna extend against the putty. Each time doing a different finger. I find it pretty easy if you do extend, just grab it and loop it around. If you make bread or something like that, it's a lot like that. Just loop around your finger in a flex position and then straighten with time. I always find it very hard on my index, or excuse me, my ring finger and my little finger, because they kind of move in unison. But basically, we'll work through that motion there. The next one is we're gonna take the putty and flatten it out into like a pizza shape. Grab it, wrap it around your fingers, and then extend all the fingers as the putty stretches. So once again, we're gonna flatten it out into kind of a pizza shape, lock our fingers onto it in extension, and just let it extend around your fingers while using extension. So we're working on our extension tendons at that point. The next one, we're gonna work on it closing. So we've kind of done opening at this point. Now we're gonna work on closing. So we take the ball of putty, put it between our first 2 fingers, and squeeze it together. Once we're done with that, make it a ball, put it between the next 2 fingers, squeeze it together. So it's like reverse of Spock, I guess. And then we're moving into our little finger and ring finger and squeeze it together, alternating as we go through. Not to forget thumb and index finger, which we're gonna basically pinch it. Now we're working on a little bit harder one. The putty's gonna make a loop around our fingers, and we're gonna do each one again. So open, then loop it around again, and next finger's over, open, and then if you can see my face twitching, it's because it requires lots of concentration, and then open again. We have to do the thumb, so wrap it around the thumb and hold it in your fist, and then extend back. The next one we call the thumb press, but basically the thumb does lots of different motions. We have to work them all. We're gonna start with the putty inside of our hand like this, and basically just press our thumb into the putties like we're doing number 4. This is called adduction, between your thumb and your index finger, and we'll go straight across. So this is not confused with pinching, right? So that's a different muscle group and different tendon group. So in this case, this is called adduction. We're going straight towards our hand. And then we'll do a pinch, a thumb pinch, where we put the putty on the fingers and basically press down. And the last stretch, using the thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, we're grabbing a hold and basically spinning and stretching as we go. If you didn't have a release on this hand, it's super easy. If you just had a release on this hand, or this is the affected hand, you're basically going in opposite directions, spinning and kind of twisting as we pull apart. Like I said, depending on the hardness of your putty will determine how hard that stretch is. But that concludes our post-carpal tunnel release stretches. If you have any questions, obviously let us know. But glad you hung in there to watch the entire thing.